Okay, so it's utter chaos here. The kids are running around like crazy, so excuse the noise in the background. But today I'm going to be making some Mother's Day crafts with the kids. So right now we're on step 1, which is making the canvas a reverse canvas. So I just took a regular canvas. I believe this is a 5x7, maybe a little bigger. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the canvas portion off of it like this. And then I am going to remove the frame from it, and then I'm going to have the kids paint this frame, and we're gonna use this as the frame, and we're gonna do the back. Okay, so this is where I'm going to turn the canvas into a reverse canvas. So I'm going to flip it over, and then you can see where the staple lines are. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut just along the edge of the staples. And I'm just going to push kind of hard because canvas is a little bit rough to cut through. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to continue doing this. So I'm going to cut the video first. Okay. So now that I've gone and cut right outside of the outside part of the staple, that is going to allow me to pull up the canvas. So I'm going to start here at the end and just pull straight up. The reason why I'm doing this and not just pulling it off completely, the reason why I'm kind of struggling with these staples is because I don't want to take away too much of the canvas material, because we're going to have to wrap it again, just on the opposite side. So again, I'm just going to continue to do this, and eventually I will have these 2 pieces. That's where I remove the canvas from. It doesn't matter what the back side looks like. You're not going to see it, so it doesn't matter. The front side we're going to paint, so it's okay that it's not really that great of a piece of wood there. Okay, so once I am done pulling this all off, it's going to look like these 2 pieces here. Okay. So I'm just going to continue to separate this one. Okay, so I finished removing all the staples. Everything's off here. I'm going to separate the 2 pieces. And then we're making Mother's Day gifts out of these, so I have to make quite a few of them. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I always do actually, doesn't really matter how many I'm making. If the canvas has to be painted before the kids, you know, contribute to it, I always do it ahead of time so that they're not waiting for me to paint the canvas and then let it dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint all the canvases to make a background. I'm going to use Summer Sky, and I'm going to just start to do. Okay, so now I am painting the frames. and I'm just using a white paint and just going along. However, you do have to make sure you get all of the parts of the frame because you will see it. So you definitely want to make sure you do the inside and the outside part as well. So you can see I did the inside. It's just really tricky because you actually kind of have to do it in stages. As you can see, this side's not done yet, just so that you can move them and dry them and set them out to dry. So I am just continuing with that, and then we'll be on the next day. So I have them all painted. I just need to finish the sides on these. However, I was doing it and I kind of noticed that the wood shows through a little bit, but I actually kind of like it that way. It's a little bit rustic looking. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it like that. The only thing I'm gonna keep painting is there's numbers on the inside, and I want to make sure that those are covered. So I don't know if you can see there, but the numbers. So I'm going to put a couple of coats of paint just kind of over that and blend it in a little bit, just to make sure you're not seeing those numbers when the picture goes in. Okay, so now we're going to do configuration. So trying to figure out what size wings I need to make. I decided not to use the Cricut on this one. I don't want to pull it out just for this. You know, it's kind of simple, it seems, so we're going to give it a shot without the Cricut. So what I did was I took the frame, put it on a piece of paper, just cheap regular paper here, computer paper, and then I traced out the size that we have for the area that we have, and then I tried to place some of the things that I know I'll be trying to add to my design. I know I have 2 kids. My older one is bigger, so what I'm going to do is I did bigger prints here, and then I'm going to make wings for this one as well. And then eventually what I will do is take this drawing, fold it in half, and then cut it out so that we'll still have the fluttering wings. But like I said, I'd rather just do it freehand right now. I don't really want to pull the Cricut out. So we're going to give that a shot. Now we're going to do the wings. I put a piece of paper over the one that I had drawn. You just want to make sure that you do it so that you have room to fold it over. So make sure your wing is facing the right way. You don't want the outside to be facing the edge of the paper. You definitely want to make sure that you can fold it over. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so for the folding part, you want to make sure that you fold it right on the line. You don't want to fold it in the middle somewhere because this is going to be your mirror image. So you want to take it, fold it right on the line, and then cut around the edges. So I cut it out, and now I am left with my wings. So these are not, this is not actually what I'm going to be using in the project. I'm going to use this as a template for the cardstock after in the next steps. Okay, so now I am going to make the wings for the kids to color. I went to the Dollar Tree earlier and I got a pack of 5 pieces of cardstock. And I wanted white, so I did buy a few packs just because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need, but you can do them obviously any color. I just want the kids to color them though, so I wanted white. And what I did was, this was all one piece, and then I just folded it over, cut, and then folded over the leftover piece, and didn't even have to cut it. And then what I'll do is I will take my wings, put them right on the line, trace, and then I will cut on the traced area. Same concept as this, but it will be out of cardstock and the kids can color it. I should get quite a few of these, probably at least 2, maybe 3 per sheet. So I guess you don't really need that much cardstock. I am making 5 of them though, so I will have to use more than most people probably would, unless you're also making them in bulk. So that was that step. Make sure when you trace, you do a very light line because you don't want to see it. The other thing is too that if you don't want, if you don't care if they're exactly uniform, you could just go ahead and draw, you know, the wing again. But I prefer to trace because I have so many to make, and I also want to give the kids the butterfly like this so that they can color it. And I have 4 kids I'm doing this with, so I think it would just be so much easier if I can just do it this way, and then I know for sure that it's going to fit on my paper. Okay, so now that I have them all drawn out and folded on all of my different papers, I'm going to, I cut them out just like in smaller, more manageable, so I just cut like right across each butterfly just to make it a little more manageable. And then cut around the edge there. And then what you're left with is your butterfly wings for the kids to color. So that's what we're gonna do next. Okay, now that we have everything else, it's time to decorate the butterflies. The kids are coloring, and you need to color all the sides of the butterfly because you will see them, so they just need to be completely colored. Dora.
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 Oh.
Okay, so now that the kids are done decorating their butterflies, I'm going to start piecing the project together. So what you want to do is make sure you put your frame over your canvas before you attach the butterflies, because if you do it a little off-centered, when you go to put the frame on, it's gonna, you know, crush it. You won't be able to see it. So you want to make sure that you have your frame out when positioning, as well as, you know, I'm going to be using some flowers, so whatever elements you plan on decorating with, or, you know, if you're decorating at all, you just want to make sure that those as well will line up. So I'm going to go and do that. I grabbed this adhesive spray from the dollar store. It seems to work pretty well. I've used it one time and it does seem to work pretty well. So, and it's easier because you can spray, you know, right on where you want to spray and then put it on your project, so that you're not, you know, having glue all over the place where you don't need it because it's a spray, or, you know, doing hot glue for the butterflies, because I feel like that might cause a bump to be kind of in the middle. So I will use hot glue though for the flowers, just because of the material that they are. But yeah, I'm gonna do the spray glue for these and figure out my spacing and just make sure they are where they need to be. Okay, so for the little ones, I'm shocked that my kid actually behaved himself, but I just took one of the dollar store paint things here and then just dunked each finger in it, kind of wiped it along the edge, and then put it onto the canvas. So he did fantastic, right, Eastie? Yeah. Yes. So we're done with him, and Jason's gonna do it. And that's what I put at the end. Okay, and so we have our fingerprints on there as the butterfly bodies, and now the kids' parts are done. It's just up to me now to finish it. So I'm going to let it dry for a little bit, and then I'm gonna finish it. All right, so now that the kids have finished doing their butterfly wings and putting their fingerprints for the body, it should look something like this. And then I'm gonna start to frame it. So I learned the hard way, so this is the easiest way that I have found to do it after a few failed attempts. I'm gonna take my hot glue and I'm gonna go around the edges I can always add more hot glue later, but it just dries so quickly, I want to get it on there. And then I am going to frame by placing the frame over just to make sure I get all of the butterflies in there and where I want them. So now that I've done that, I can now flip it over and just start to lift this a little bit and then put more glue. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to start to put our embellishments on. I have my canvas all cut. You can't see anything sticking out of the edges. What I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be using some fake flowers as my embellishments, that's going to put a little bit of weight on it. So I want to make sure that as the weight gets put on the bottom here and it pulls it forward, it's not going to pull my canvas along with it and end up, you know, with it kind of puckered. So I am going to just go flip this back over and just go around again with my glue gun just to make sure that any of the spots that really didn't get glued the first time gluing, you know, really get glued down. So once I'm done with this, we will move on to putting the flowers on. And this should just take a second. I'm just not being particular about it, just kind of going straight down the edge like I did the first time, just doing it for a second time. Just to make sure that's on. This side's pretty glued down, so I'll just kind of lift the little bit of flap that I have here because I can't get under it all. Just whatever's kind of lifted, I'm just going to put a little in there, push it down. All right, so now I think I'm pretty secure. Get my trash out of the way. All right. So now comes the fun part, hopefully. You can decorate yours however you would like. I thought it would be kind of cute to put some flowers on the bottom and just kind of make it look like, you know, they're flying around in the flowers. So that's what I chose to do. And we're gonna start by placing where we think we might want it. You don't want to just start gluing, because if something doesn't fit right or it doesn't look right, it's going to be harder to just pull off. And now, you know, this is your finished product, so you want to make sure that you're happy with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay them out a little bit, play around with it and lay them out. Now the great thing about this is you can cover up any mistakes that may have been made. I don't know if you can see, but there's an orange stripe right at the bottom there where Easton's hand had some paint on it, and when he did his fingerprint, the other part of his hand kind of hit it and made that orange streak. Well, once I put this flower down and glue it, I can glue it right over that spot and you're not going to see it at all. So that's what's really cool about using embellishments, because you can also try to like hide some of the, you know, minor mistakes that you've made along the way, if you're like me and make some. If you're not, that's fantastic. All right, so I'm just gonna try to lay these out. I'm gonna put a taller flowers on the edges just to give it more of a flow, so that it doesn't look like, you know, it just is like a hedge. I don't want it to look like a hedge of flowers. I want it to look like more like a garden. So I'm gonna put these longer flowers on the edges, and I'll show you that once they're glued down a little bit better too. But I'm gonna put them on the edges so that way it gives like the appearance of, you know, the flowers kind of flowing and still, you know, there being more flowers in the garden. So I'm also gonna put a taller flower in the middle. I want to make it look like the butterflies are kind of, you know, going to be resting on that flower or poking around the flower. And it gives it a little bit of height so that it doesn't just look like you glued a bunch of stuff at the bottom. So this one's a little bit too tall for what I want. Goes too much into the butterflies. So simple enough, just gonna trim it down. I think a little bit shorter, and then I will be happy with that. Plastic flowers are really good too. You do not have to use them the way that they are. Feel free to cut them up. Sometimes I even will pull off just the flower part or just the leaf part and put it down somewhere else and just glue it down or glue it to the front to just make it look a little more full where I need it to be. So don't be afraid to do that, because even if you pull it apart and then you don't like it, a lot of the times they just snap right back in. So you can, you know, pretty much just put it back together if you don't like it, if you didn't chop it up. I mean, if you chopped it up, well then it is what it is, but there's a little hole there and then on the stem, so you just clip it back together. Right. So I'm just gonna continue doing my embellishments and then I will show you the finished when I'm done. I put on my flowers. And like I was saying earlier too, sometimes when there's gaps in between your flowers and you don't want to just keep putting flowers on, you want to make it a little more natural, I guess, looking. Once I pull flowers off of my fake, you know, my artificial stems, I always keep them, even if there's no flowers on them. Because then I can do like what I had to do down here. I didn't have a lot of these pink flowers and I didn't want to put too many because I didn't want to take away from, you know, the picture. So I just cut off a little bit of this greenery, just kind of stuffed it in there and then just hit it a little bit with the flower petals. So I think I am done here. I chose to let these kind of hang over the edge to give the effect that I was talking about earlier, just to kind of give it some dimension. And I also gave a little dimension to these by putting some flowers on top of the ones that were flat. So that gives it a little bit of dimension as well. Now, this project was inspired by another project that I had seen on, I believe it was Pinterest. I'll put the link in there, but they had made a card out of it, which I thought was like really cute, or a little paper project. And they had put sayings on them like, "You're the wind beneath my wings," or, you know, what have you. They had a few different sayings for examples. So I really thought that that was nice, but I wanted something that I could last, that could last, would be a little bit more sturdy and framed, so that when I hang it, it looks like a piece of art. So that is why I modified it to do it this way, but I just need to give credit to the person who originally came up with the idea. But like I said, theirs was paper and didn't have any flowers on it. So if you're looking for something quick, I'm gonna put the link in with this post as well, so that you can check out what she had done. All right, guys, make sure you post pictures of yours if you decide to try it.